Mr. Philippe. So, Mr. Serre, you are the Regional Director South Asia for AFD, as well as Mr. Kedar Sawant. You are Project Manager for Energy at AFD. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Kedar Sawant. I'm working at the AFD. I'm looking after the energy portfolio. So AFD is a public development bank of government of France, and we have been present over here since last 10 years in India. We have offices all over the world, more than 90 countries. So I will focus on the India because we have come down to the specific topic of the smart grids. So 57% portfolio is in urban transport. We are financing various metros, Nagpur Metro, Kochi Metro, Pune Metro, etc. 27% portfolio is in energy efficiency and renewable energy. So we have the credit lines with the IREDA, as well as we have given a loan to ESL for the street lighting projects. But energy efficiency in the distribution network, that we will look forward with the various public discoms, because we are entitled to work only with the public discoms because of the government of India's mandate. Total commitments so far are around 15,000 crores, 1.9 billion euros, and we are the official development aid agency of the government of France. So we are giving loans as well as grants to the Indian governments or public institutes. And along with me, Mr. Philippe Serre is here, who is representing Proparco, which is a private financing arm of the AFD.
Yes, so just to clarify, I'm the head of Proparco for South Asia, not the head of AFD. So just to clarify, Proparco is a subsidiary of AFD, which is in charge of financing the private sector with the same developmental mandate. Basically, AFD is providing loans to the government of India or to some state-owned companies, whereas Proparco is providing loans and equity to all type of private players, but with the same sustainable and inclusive growth mandate as AFD, and it also contributes to the French developmental agenda. So Proparco, has been operating for the last 12 years in India. We have reached around 600 million euros commitments over the last 12 years. As you can see, there's been a strong growth recently in different sectors. This translates in 40 projects, actually, so actually smaller projects than what AFD provides, because we are lending again to private players. As you can see, the sectorial breakdown is quite diversified, but there is more than 50% of our commitments in energy. When we say energy, it has been mainly generation of renewable energy, either through project finance or loans to financial institutions, or equity investments in players like Azure Power or Avada that we've done recently. We haven't really invested so far in a smart grid project, although we're looking at that. One of the reasons being that so far the private sector hasn't been so involved in this sector, in this segment. So that's what we're trying to do. And as you can see, our breakdown in terms of financial products is between senior debt and equity.
Yeah, so I will skip this slide because all of us know what are the advantages of the smart grid. But for the AFD also is the most important part, because we are the French development agency which having the mandate aligned with the Paris Agreement. So we are looking after the climate benefiting project, as well as which are having the 100% social link. So we have already worked in the various countries, like in Africa on the deployment of SCADA system. We are also looking forward in India for the enabling the discoms to take the challenge of renewable integration as well as the storage capacities, and also the improvement of the quality of supply, and having a grid access, as well as underground cabling and modernization of the grids with the help of the financing coming from our side, and as well as technical assistance which will provide it to the discom in order to improve their operations. So this is kind of offer of the financial offer, because I'm talking in perspective of like a banker. So we can provide a long-term consistent financing, the sovereign loan which can be routed through Government of India to the public discom with the maturity of 20 years, with a grace period of 5 years. It can be changed according to the needs of the discom. The currency will be of this loan will be the euro, and but if it's routed to a Government of India will hedge the funds, and the loan amount can be from the 80 million euros to 200 million euros, which is 650 crores to 600 crores loan can be financed. As well as we are not only the bank, we make the difference in the market because we provide the added value of the technical assistance. So technical assistance can be provided for the development, drafting the studies, pre-feasibility studies, study tools, as well as the capacity building programs having a focus on the gender aspect and the environmental social aspect. If the project, the storage project, which is or any other technology which is very innovative for the DISCOM, we are attributed to the some of the funds from the EU as well as from the green climate fund. Also, we can blend it and can reduce down the borrowing cost for the public DISCOMs. So this is one of the project we funded the studies for the Madhya Pradesh government for the MPPCL, which has been then forwarded, then take further by EDF, which Mr. Daniel Maitre has already spoken of. So I will come to the Bangladesh project where we financed the 100 million euro to the Dhaka Power Distribution Company Limited. Out of it was mainly focused on the improvement of the substations. So 6 substations were improved with the kind of SCADA and automation systems, as well as the power correction factor was one of the part of this project. As well as we mobilized the EU grant of 12 million in order to have the capacity building, as well as capacity building program and a new automation system in existing substations. So I will move on to the Proparco model, which is financing the private sector.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like to jump on the discussion that Mr. Verma introduced before. It's the OPEX model, which is being proposed now for developing advanced metering or smart metering in some towns in India. And that's a model where we think that Proparco could lend to different private players for the implementation of long-term concessions from around 7 years, in which basically instead of having a CapEx model in which the DISCOM has to take all the upfront costs, there is a mix of CapEx, which is covered by the DISCOM initially, with 7 years of CapEx and O&M paid on a monthly basis. And actually the private player has to bid on the amount of O&M costs he wants to be paid per month during the 5 to 7 years in which it has to maintain these smart meters. The interest in this model, of course, as Sir you were saying, is that it reduces the upfront cost for the DISCOM, which is in a usually bad financial situation, in some states more than in others. It also helps, of course, bring different competitive players in the market who can bring new technologies and therefore infuse some competition, healthy competition, and improvement of the technologies available. So we've seen some tenders coming out. I don't know how far they are advanced, but in Madhya Pradesh, in Odisha, in West Bengal. And one of the characteristics of those tenders is that usually it's from 100,000 to 500,000 smart meters to be deployed, which is quite a lot for a new player in some towns. The deployment is for 2 years, so usually they have to deploy these smart meters over 2 years, and then they have to secure the O&M for 5 years. There is an upfront funding of the CapEx, which is borne by the DISCOM, of some part of it. We have seen it can be up to 60% of total CapEx, which is, I think, a good incentive. It's quite similar to the... Sorry? TOTEX, yeah, so total project costs, yeah. So it's a sort of similar to the VGF that we saw in the renewable energy sector some years ago, but I think it's a good incentive for private players to come in this segment. And then, of course, the private players, the risk they take is to bid into a sort of monthly fee per smart meter, which will cover part of the CapEx and part of the O&M during the 7 years. So, of course, this is expected to lead to loss reduction by around 15%, to a better tariff design for the DISCOMs, to an increased bidding collection, and also, of course, to a higher reliability of the grid and accuracy of the bills for the customers. So just as an investor, one of the viewpoints that we have on this model, and I think it's important to mention because we've been approached by different players who want to bid basically on these tenders. One is how we deal with the risk of delays in completion of infrastructure, and in particular the right of way. Basically, how can the private developer be sure that he's going to have access to all the different buildings and households and install the smart meters in due time? That's one. Then there is the operational risk. In particular, the reliability and quality of smart meters. We understand that they can be subject to different defaults. They can be subject to different external conditions, which can lead to operational risk. Also, the technological risk. This is a technology which doesn't seem to be fully stabilized still. So there might be evolutions in the next few years which make the current smart meters not relevant anymore, and therefore, how are we going to work still with 7 years with these smart meters? The social acceptability of the project, because of course for customers, it means a totally change of mindset and having to pay actually for their consumption, which is not something which happens all the time. And this is the most important one, I would say, the off-taker risk. Ultimately, the developer and the lender are going to have to look at the DISCOM, because the DISCOM is going to pay basically for this. And in the same way that for energy projects, we have to look at the risk of the DISCOM, the financial strength. Here is the same, and that's I think one of the issues that will command more or less premium in the projects. The regulatory risk, any change of law, the custom duty which could be introduced in the smart meters and in the companies who have to be imported, and the financing risk. Today, this is a new financial model, a new business model. To what extent are commercial banks ready to lend to this new type of projects?
So,
thank you.
Yeah. So conclusion is like just one remark, if you will allow me. So AFD and Proparco both are available in India for further improvement in the DISCOMs, public as well as private DISCOMs trajectory. And we would like to bring some financial loans, which are consistent loans, as well as technical assistance to DISCOMs available. Thank you.